Welcome back to the Whiskey Shaman podcast. How you like that? I'm working on it, guys. I really am. I'm working on getting this stuff tuned in. We're getting it, getting it real nice and tight for y'all. But we got a cool show today. I say that every time, don't I? We really do, though. We're gonna be getting into why does my whiskey taste like that? What in the world? Is there something wrong with it? It's going to be fun. All right, let's get into it. You'll have to excuse me. I am a little, not under the weather. I wouldn't say under the weather. I am a little out of it. We had a family weekend this weekend, and I have another one coming up this next weekend. So it's gonna be a little rough for the next couple weeks, but we're gonna get through it. Um, so basically, my father-in-law. Anyway, long story short, the whole family gets together. We go to a B&B, hang out the whole weekend, drink way too much beer. You know how that goes. Um, there's a big pool, all that stuff. Um, we had a great time. Ate way too much food. Hung out, did a bunch of fellowship. Stuff like that. It was great. We had a great time, and now I'm just tired and don't want to have to go to work tomorrow. Whatever. It's fine. Um, but while I was there, of course, me being the whiskey dude, I brought some whiskeys, and not everybody. No, well, I'll say not really anybody there drinks whiskey, like I do. There's a couple that have partaken at certain times, but so I brought 4 or 5 bottles just to have, to open and share, and if somebody wanted to get into them, let's get into them. If not, it was a thing mainly for me. I wanted to have a selection of different whiskeys if I wanted them. But I also picked up a bottle of, um, the big thing right now is all the ready to drink alcohols. Like you have your White Claws, but then you also have like a Jack and Coke in a can. Cool, right? As most of you know by now, I'm not a huge Jack Daniels man. So I picked up a bottle of Treaty Oak, but it was their old fashioned mix, and it was super good. Put a little ice with it. I actually put a little bit more simple syrup. Wait, can't talk. Simple syrup in it because like it is a little too bitter for me, so I just got a little bit of simple, put it in there, made it perfect. Um, and it's still like 35%. So you have enough of those. You're floating in the water, or sinking to the bottom. I don't know. Anyway, but it was super good. But I last night before when we were wrapping up, I had brought a bottle that I hadn't opened yet. I had never tried, and I was like, I really want to try this. So me and one of the brother-in-laws cracked it open, and it was the same brother-in-law that went to the Texas Whiskey Fest with me. So shout out. I don't know if you want your name on here, so I'm not, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna shout you out. But we opened it up, and it was the Saints Alley, um, the Herald Special Edition. It was finished in, I can't say the wine cask, Pinot, not Pinot Noir, but it was like a very French wine cask. Anyway, and Armagnac cask, which if you know anything about Saints Alley, it is a collaboration between the Liquor Hound. If you don't know him, go follow him. He's doing some cool stuff. He um, he did a collab with Iron Root Republic, and it's a 50%, supposedly 50% Iron Root, 50% MGP, and then they finish it and do all this other stuff. And so I was like, I would just want to try it. I thought it would be pretty fruity, pretty, a pretty whiskey for the evening. I wasn't trying to go real heavy into anything. We opened that up, and man, I can tell you right now, it was amazing. It was some good stuff. I mean, if you can find, I know it's in a lot of Total Wines, maybe specs. You'll see it's a real tall bottle with a SA on it, and any of them are good. They have a rum finish. They have, we talked a little bit about that on the last episode, but I actually opened it up, and dude, it was so awesome. It was really good. It was, to me, And my tasting notes on it are gonna be kind of dumb. I'm gonna do a full deep dive into it soon, but maybe tonight. I don't know. Depends upon how I feel about it. What I got last night, and of course we had ate and done all this, so like we had been swimming in the pool. Everybody was sunburned, that type of thing. Um, was like if you ever obviously everybody's drank Sprite before, but it's like a Sprite where it's like kind of effervescent, but like lemon limey, uh, but mixed with like raisins, right? So like you put some raisins in your Sprite because it was really effervescent. It was 107 proof, so it was it wasn't super hot, but it was hot enough. Um, and it was just super effervescent, and the from I guess the raisin is coming from the wine cask, obviously, right? And so it was coming through a lot to me, and that was last night. So I'm kind of interested to see it with sitting down with it by myself, able to kind of give it some more time, let it open up, maybe add a little water to it, stuff like that, and see. I'm sure there's a bunch of other notes in there, but you know, Armagnac, wine, both of those are made with grapes, which raisins are grapes too. So I think I'm on somewhat on the right path. But it's also a bourbon, so you're gonna get those sweet vanilla caramels and stuff like that. So I really didn't even point those out because I knew that was the case. Um, but yeah, no, it was super good, and I can't wait to dive into it a little more and share it with friends and stuff like that. Share it with family that's coming this next weekend. I think they'll really enjoy it. All right, so let's move on to the topic at hand. That's enough housekeeping, right? Get to the point, right? Um, so I just did. I don't know. You guys already know this, but I have a little YouTube thing. Don't It's not the greatest thing, so don't. I don't have an editor or anything like that, so I do all the things. But I just did a video on oxidation in your whiskey. I was gifted, or I guess cursed, maybe. I don't know. I was given a bottle of an old bottle of Garrison Brothers that had been opened. And when I looked at it, it was actually distilled in 2008. Now, when it was opened, I don't know, because it was open and there's probably a little over a quarter, maybe a third gone of the whiskey. So it's literally it was distilled in 2008 and bottled in 2010, right? Or 2011, maybe. So it's legit, 12 years old. So there's no telling when it was opened and stuff like that. So I'm going to say, 10 years at least. Um, and unfortunately, the cork broke, fell into the bottle. That crap happens all the time. Those stupid real corks, the alcohol just burns them away, and that's why you're not supposed to have them on the side because the alcohol will literally eat the cork and it'll fall apart. But you are supposed to make it, get it wet every once in a while so it doesn't dry out as well. So it's kind of a battle that you have to play between keeping your cork wet and not having it fall apart at the same time. So it's you know so like unlike wine where most wines are under 16% alcohol, all whiskeys start at 40% alcohol. So you can tell there's a big difference in alcohol content. So you don't want to lay them on their side. Whereas wines, you lay them on their side so that the cork stays wet and it won't leak out. It'll just keep the cork expanded to where it stays in there. So I got into the whiskey and I was like, okay, well let's try it, see if it's even worth keeping. I was given the bottle. If I gotta throw it away or whatever, it's fine. It's not a big deal. So I opened the whiskey, and tasted it on camera. Which for me, it's when you're under pressure like that, you really give the best notes because you're like, you're on the ball. You got to take care of it. So by the time you hear this, it'll already be out. That video will already be out. So go watch that. But basically, it was super like there was hardly anything there. which was kind of strange. Which that's what oxidation. So oxidation is just the air getting into the whiskey, into the bottle. Now, when you're aging whiskey in a barrel or something like that, you want to make sure that it gets micro oxidation because that's what gives you um, that. They say there's no quick way to age whiskey. Like there's people that are doing it nuclearly. They're doing like an autoclave or a sonic cleaner. They're trying to hot cold cycle the whiskey to get it aging. Well, it's not going to age it. You're going to get oak influence a lot faster, but you won't get aging. Aging is micro oxidation through the barrel. That got nerdy fast. Wow, shit. It's micro oxidation. So the air is able to come in, and obviously the liquid's not able to go out because then your barrel would be leaking all over the place, and you would know. But if you've ever seen some really old barrels, um, they get like almost candy on the outside. It's like sticky tar, and that's the alcohol or the alcohol vapors coming in and out and mixing with the air, yeah, and the wood and turning it into the sugars. Like we talked about, the barrels are made of cellulose, so they're made of sugar of some sort. Not, it's not table sugar, but um, so like, yeah, and so you want that micro oxidation in the barrel. But what you don't want, once you bottle it, you don't want any more oxidation because then what happens is it takes those flavors and it changes them. Kind of like when you aerate a wine. I know I'm talking about wine, but when you aerate a wine, it gets oxidized by the air. And that's why wine changes in the bottle because they use regular corks, not synthetic corks. They use regular corks, and those corks are able to micro oxidize. So if you get a wine bottle that's 60 years old, it's not going to be anything like the wine that was put into that bottle. It's going to be so different. Better, worse, who knows? Wine normally sweetens and gets a little calmer and stuff. It doesn't get as uh, tannic and stuff like that in the bottle the longer it sits. Whereas whiskey, as soon as you put it in the bottle, you don't need to. Okay, open your whiskey, drink your whiskey. Don't hoard it. Get it. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is if you're going to open it, you better be prepared to drink it. Um, so some people say I'm not a, I don't have a doctorate in microoxidation, but it's been said in the industry that normally you want to finish that whiskey, and it depends upon how much is in it. If you take a small pour off the top, you have to look in there and be like, okay, my air to whiskey ratio, right? If you take one sip off the top, like let's say it's your father passed away and it was his favorite whiskey, you got a special bottle, you open it every time that it's his anniversary of his birthday, right? People do that. It's a thing. And you take a small sip out of it every year just for his birthday or something like that. Um, the micro oxidation is going to be minimal. Let's say you put your whiskey in a decanter, like a nice glass decanter that you see on like Mad Men and stuff like that. Even Yellowstone, I think he has some. Um, like if you're doing that, it's going to oxidize super fast. So you're going to want to drink that within a couple months. Could be even sooner, depending upon how well the little. Because a lot of times with those decanters, they're not even a cork. It's just the metal. I mean, the metal. The glass is cut a certain way to where it like makes a fit. Well, air is going to get in there. If you were to turn that upside down, it'd leak all over the place. Now, if you had one with a stopper on it, it would probably last a little bit longer. I wouldn't trust it. Especially if you're putting like a fancy whiskey in there. Like if you're trying to, if you have there's a such thing as a daily sipper, right? If you have a daily sipper, and like let's say one of mine would be Evan Williams bottled in bond. We've talked about that at nauseum. I love it. Go get one right now. Well, not right now, but when you're done mowing the yard or whatever you're doing. Or if you're driving, please don't swerve into traffic to go to the liquor store to get you a bottle. Just calm down. Um, but like with those, you're going to be going through it a lot faster than say a bottle that's sitting on the shelf that you open, you pour out of it once a month or once every 3 months or something like, or when company comes over, which if you're like me, you don't have company come over except twice a year, Thanksgiving and Christmas and the occasional cousin weekend or something like that. So it doesn't get opened as much as you want it to. Speaking of that, this next weekend we're gonna break into that black art for sure. For sure, that black art's gonna get drank. Not all of it. I gotta save some. You know what I mean? That's a very expensive bottle. I'm not trying to chug the whole thing, because it's been open for almost a year now, and I don't want it to super oxidize. It's already a 26-year-old whiskey. I'm not trying to make it taste like crap. So anyway, so getting back to the subject at hand. So in the bottle, you want as little air in there as possible. And they have those things that you can spray in your wine bottles. That's like inert gas that makes a pillow. I personally have never tried that. I feel like it has a flavor, and it's gonna mix with, especially with the whiskey. Like with wine, like I say, it's a lower proof, so it's not gonna mix as much, I would say. But with the whiskey, I feel like it would mix a little more, and you would get like a stale, like almost like metallic taste. That's just me. I've never tried it. I'm not gonna try it because, to me, I enjoy the whiskey a lot more when I can see kind of like the flavor change over a little bit. Now, most of the time, my bottles, once I open them, like let's say, like I said, I open that bottle of Saints Alley. Um, I'm going to actively be drinking it. It's in my open section of the bar. This is one that like I'm gonna pour. I'm gonna continue to pour it until it's gone. Like not all the time. Like it's not like I'm not only drinking on that whiskey until I finish it. I probably have 10, 12, maybe even 20 open bottles right now. And I just meander through them, and then every once in a while I'll open a new one, and then, but I'll wait, I'll try and wait until I have one that has very little in it, and maybe finish that off, do a bottle kill on it, and then open up a new one. And that's kind of how I do. Now everybody's different. There's some people that open a bottle and they finish the bottle. That's the thing. They start the bottle, they finish the bottle, as soon as possible. Some people that night. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice, but don't do that. Hmm. Sorry. I get to talking and I mean, have a drink every once in a while. Good lord. Um. Anyway. So yeah, getting back to oxidation. I know it's like really we're seriously talking about oxidized whiskey. That's what this whole topic's gonna be about. No, no, it's not. Just calm down. God, give me a minute. Yeah, my son's been obsessed with Napoleon Dynamite lately, so like everything is like, God, you know. Anyway, um, so anyway, that whiskey particularly. Why am I'm telling you all about it? Now you're not going to go to my YouTube and watch the stupid video. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Go watch it anyway. I need to get my numbers up as much as possible. Anyway, um, it was super flat. Didn't really taste like much. The finish on it was kind of like bland. There was a little sweetness, but it was an inert sweetness. Like it just tasted like stevia or some not really that fake, but like it was just sweet. It and with Garrison, it has a pretty punchy taste to it. You know what I mean? It's very tannic. It's very the ethanol burn is there, and it didn't have any of it, which was kind of cool. Like it's kind of cool to like see after 10 years, 10 plus years of being open in a bottle. It wasn't okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. It's not like one of those ways. Oh, I'm gonna finish this off. No, it wasn't great. I'm going to possibly save it. I'll probably put it in another bottle. I might have a 375 that I can put it in with an actual cork and write on there what it is, and use it for like comparison tastings. Um, when those when those start rolling out, like I don't know if people even want to try crappy whiskey, um, that's been oxidized. But like if I was teaching a class or something about whiskey, that would be a perfect example of that. Um, Not that I'm teaching a class anytime soon. I might be. Who knows? I might be at the Wizard Academy soon teaching a class. Especially after I get Psalm 3 under belt. In order to get Psalm 4, you got to teach classes and crap like that. Um, anyway, so yeah, the oxidation was really strange. I thought it would be a lot more, but it really wasn't. But I had a bottle sitting on the shelf for, it was open. It was about half drank. It wasn't great. Um, what was it? I'm trying to think of the whiskey that it was. I'm looking around. I'm in the shed looking at all the, and that's why like everybody's like my wife especially is like, why do you keep the old bottles? Like throw them away. You're a hoarder. Quit keeping old bottles. But I can tell you each one of these bottles, like where I was, what I was doing, most of the time, not all the time, but um, I'm trying to think of one that I opened and then I was like, eh, um, yeah, I don't know. The only one I can think of is the Abalor. I can't say it. Abuna, whatever. Everybody loves that whiskey. It's a Scotch, but it's like a cast strength representation of it. Everybody loves the whiskey in the whiskey scene. They're like, man, it's so good. It has this. It has that. But I don't know. It wasn't hitting. It wasn't ticking boxes for me. The Abalor 12, super good, super easy to drink, crushable. Um, you know, Not harsh at all. Just a great whiskey. It'd be good in a highball, whatever. But the cast strength version of it, if it's the cast strength version, I don't know. It could be a younger one. It didn't hit the boxes for me. Um, I didn't really care for it. Got about halfway through it, and it kind of sat in the back for a while. And the oxidation on it actually made it worse. Which, if it's already one that you're like about, and it makes it worse, you're even more meh. So it's like, oh god, and so finally, I think I ended up putting it in some cocktails. Made old fashioned with it, which it was kind of weird because personally, I don't care for scotches and old fashions. It makes it taste different, like really different. The grain is a lot more forward. The malt is a lot more forward, and it just starts tasting like sweet cereal. Like overly sweet shredded wheat or something like that. Which I love overly sweet shredded wheat, but in an old fashioned, I want to have some of that cherry, that vanilla. What my personal preference would be a high rye bourbon or a rye whiskey in an old fashioned. But I've had some with Japanese whiskey, pretty good. But Japanese sometimes gives a little smoky character to it, so like that smoke kind of plays with it and gives a little more depth. Anyway, now we're talking about old fashioned. What am I doing? Anyway, I finally killed the bottle, and it was okay. The Ambulor was okay. It wasn't great. But like I said, the 12, love it. It's good. It's a daily drinker if you want it. But yeah, so oxidation is a pretty prevalent thing, especially if you have a collection of whiskeys that you're going through. Um, and you want to open them, you want to drink them. That's the whole point of having whiskey on the shelf is to drink it and enjoy it. So it's like, why, don't fight yourself over it. Just drink it and enjoy it, and try to enjoy it with friends and family and stuff like that. But if you can't, once you open it, they say you got about a year. And the further you get down the bottle, like let's say you have 2 ounces, 2.5 ounces, 3 ounces left in the bottle, and it's been sitting for 8 months, you need to kill it. You need to kill it or dump it out. One of the two. I suggest don't dump the whiskey out unless it's just bad. If you're struggling through it, that nobody's pointing a gun to your head to drink the dang whiskey. So don't. If you don't like it, don't drink it. Um, Put it in a sample bottle, send it to me, and I'll do a tasting on it. How about that? No. Um, and if it's crap, I don't want it. Actually, that's not true. I love don't I'm not gonna say I love because like it's, it's a labor of love I guess, but I like to find faults in the whiskey. Not that I'm very good at it. Like I'm working on building up my palate for uh diacetyl and malolactic and stuff like that, but um it's hard. It's hard. Like you have to be around you almost have to be around the new make of the whiskey. So like I know Buffalo Trace they sell the new make whiskey in a bottle. And you can get it and like age it yourself in your own little barrels and stuff like that. You're never gonna make Buffalo Trace, so stop. Because it's not gonna age like that. Anyway, we'll get into that late on a later episode. But um, if you can find the faults in the new make, then it'll be easier. Like there's a lot of them that like, and I've done quite a few tastings, and there's a lot of them that taste like buttered movie popcorn. Like, and you're thinking, oh well, that's not a bad thing. Well, it's actually a fault in the whiskey, So, um, anyway, so I guess we're gonna move on to finding faults. I don't know. I guess we segue into finding faults at 25 minutes in. Anyway, so back to I'll finish this sentence and then we'll get into finding faults because that sounds like a good segue. Because I don't want these to be an hour or whatever of me just blabbering on about the barrel influence and this and that and okay. So we're we're gonna move on from it because there's really not that much. If the whiskey tastes weird, like okay, taste it in the beginning, and people say there's a thing called the neck pour taste. Like when you first open the bottle, it like opens up. That's microoxidation. That's what that is. It's slowly oxidizing in the bottle. The more you drink it, the more they say it opens up. No, it's oxidizing. That's what it's doing. It's oxidizing. And that's why people let it sit when, like, let's say you pour a glass of whiskey. You take a drink. It's going to be super alcohol, ethanol forward in the nose and in the taste because it's been poured, so it's been agitated, right? It's been opened, which it doesn't airlock, but like sometimes those corks are really tight in there, and so it almost makes like a vacuum chamber in there. So it does like kind of seal it. Um, so the ethanol is trying to escape because that's what ethanol does. The vapors of ethanol are trying to get out into the ozone because they're lighter than air. So you let it sit. And anytime you add water to a whiskey, you let it sit because that ethanol will start pouring out. So the neck pour is just the raw material coming at you, and so sometimes it can be kind of harsh and stuff like that. But it's um, normally it's the pretty consistent taste all the way through the bottle. Um, you'll get little changes every once in a while. I personally, in my opinion, this is all opinion. It's an opinion-based podcast, so don't quote me on anything. Do your own research. You know what I mean? Yes. Do I know some of these things? Yes. Am I an expert? Absolutely not. There is no such thing as a whiskey expert. I don't care who you talk to, they're not an expert. Freddie No himself is not a whiskey expert. You can ask him. He'll tell you. Well, if he's alive. Well, the fifth, sixth generation, whatever. Um, Nobody is an expert at this, and everything changes every day. So just understand that. But um, let the whiskey sit. It micro oxidizes, and so therefore it does change 2%, 3% maybe. By the time you finish that bottle, you're not going to notice it, especially if you're going through it. Like if you're sharing it at a party, and you're drinking, not you, your your group is drinking like half the bottle. It's not going to oxidize as you're pouring it. Like it's going to take time. And then now that you see you have a half a bottle left, you need to take, give it 6 months. Needs to be drank, and most people understand that. Like, right, I have a half open bottle. I need to drink it. If you're going to like save a sample, Amazon has these little containers. They're little sample bottles that, and anytime I go to like somewhere and I'm meeting other whiskey people, sometimes I'll bring samples of like more rare whiskey or something like that. That way they can try it if they want to, and it's in a 2 ounce or 4 ounce. You can get however many you want sample, and you can it has a lid on it and stuff like that. So you can bring it and be like, hey, have you tried the new blah blah blah? Here, try it. That way you don't have to bring the $500 bottle of whiskey and it might break or something like that. If you break 2 ounces of it, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Or if like nobody wants it, you come back home, you dump it back in your thing. Bob's your uncle. Um, so if you want to save a sample and it's a really good whiskey and you want to save a sample, I would suggest have the first couple of pours off of it and then take it, put it in one of those sample jars, and you'll see I have samples all over my house. Well, in my shed, I'm not allowed to have all the samples everywhere in the house. I'll die. I'm already on pins and needles with the whiskey collection as it is, so it's like no. Um, so yeah, just pour it into a 2 ounce sample bottle, put a lid on it, try to fill it as full as you can. And if you open that sample bottle, you need to finish that sample bottle fairly quickly. Um, and yes, it is plastic. The caps are plastic and stuff like that. Just understand that it might not, if you're going to leave it for years and years, it might not taste the same. You could get some of the petroleum stuff that's in the plastic leaching into it. Just be aware of that. I mean, again, not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. Um, Nor is it life advice either. Don't listen to me. Don't follow what I do. um, because whiskey is a solvent. Alcohol is a solvent. And it's also a poison, right? And soon we're gonna, hopefully soon we're gonna have, we're gonna be doing some interviews with people, and we're gonna be talking about different whiskey topics, and that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna try and get a doctor on, and we're gonna talk about the negative and positive, well, not so much positive effects of whiskey, but uh, not to disingenuate. Whoa, hold on. Not to take away from the whiskey. I love whiskey. Yeah, I enjoy it often. Not to take away from it, but to let you guys, for me to understand, and for you guys to understand the negative effects of that. Anyway, moving on. Let's move into what were we talking about? Well, I was gonna cut it in half. Oh Lord, did I lose it? Huh. What was it? We got, and then we went there. I'm sorry, guys. This is riveting. Um, this is riveting times here. Um, so yeah, if you're gonna keep samples, keep them closed, um, you know, keep them airtight as much as possible. And if it is oxidized, um, and you still enjoy it, drink it up um, sooner than later. Um, and yeah, okay, if you keep your whiskey sealed, factory sealed, and it has a synthetic cork, it will last for a long time. Years. Years. Um, I have some whiskeys that are fairly old, and I'm afraid to open them. One of them is a Glenlivet 12 that's from like the 70s, 60s. Um, and I'm almost certain it has a real cork on it, and I'm like, I know what's gonna happen. I've had people offer me some money for it, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably never gonna open it because what I would like to do if somebody offered me money for it, obviously I'm gonna sell it. I don't sell whiskeys, that's not my thing, but I would obviously sell it because like I'm sure it's worth some money to somebody. But one of the things I might do, and it's not going to be anytime in the near future, is do a side-by-side comparison between the 70s, late 60s version to the today version. It'd be just a really cool side-by-side. Now, obviously, the one, even though it's, the even though the old one has been corked, it could micro oxidize depending upon the age and how it was stored and where it was stored, and if it was stored on its side, or because I pro- procured it no more than maybe a year ago. Again, a client, a client of mine on the dreaded day job, said, "Hey, you like whiskey, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I got a bottle. You want it?" "Yeah," and he gave it to me. So I was like, "Cool." Um, so let's go into. We got a little bit of time. Let's go into what to do with your bottles, your collection, your growing collection. I know a lot of people that follow me, they message me bottles that they're picking up, and I love it, dude. I love it when you guys send me pictures of like, hey, this is at the liquor store. Should I pick it up? Or hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or how do you feel about this? Like it really that's kind of, I'm not gonna say that's my job because it's I don't have a job with this. Not nobody's paying me to do this, but like it's really cool because some people, and like when you develop relationships with people that are in trying to get into the whiskey scene, you're able to kind of get their palate, because there's one guy in my whiskey group. He really enjoys rye whiskey. That's his thing. He goes for rye all the time. Every time he sends me a picture of a whiskey he's picked up, it's a rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey. So I'm like, okay, I know he prefers that. So anytime I do a tasting with the group, I always bring out a either super heavily rye bourbon. They're not really into Scotch too much. Super heavily rye bourbon, or a spicier bourbon, or a rye, obviously. That way, it can fit everybody's palate. You know what I mean? And I'm all about, as you guys already know, I'm all about. It's raining. Nope. Huh. Great. My grass is gonna grow even taller. Great. Um, I'm all about finding people other whiskeys. I'm kind of like Netflix. You might also like this. Getting everybody on the different paths. Like, you really like Knob Creek rye? Well, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try this. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people are like, nope, that didn't hit it for me. And it just depends. Like, obviously, in different distilleries, different profiles are going to be different. Not everybody likes the Jim Beam profile. Well, if you don't like the Jim Beam profile, you're not going to like the Knob Creek. You're not going to like Booker's. You're not, you know what I mean? Because they're all the same distillery. Just, like if you love the Buffalo Trace profile, and most people do, then yeah, you're going to like a lot of different whiskeys. They're the same whiskey, but you're going to like a lot of different brands. Because Buffalo Trace is so sparse. They have so many different brands out there. Can't get any of them, but they have a lot. And that's one thing I love about, and here we go, fanboy again. That's one thing I love about Texas whiskey, is it literally, every bottle tastes so different than the next. From each distillery, it's going to be that much different. Nobody is making a Kentucky bourbon in Texas. They're trying to, I guess. There's some that are trying to, but like I said, you go to Iron Root, try their bourbon. It is way different than a Balcones. Or you go to Milam and Green. Theirs is going to be way different than Ranger Creek. Like and they're like not that far away from each other. You know what I mean? So it's just the profile, the wood profile, all that stuff, but also the mash bills and stuff like that they're doing. Because in Texas, well, not just Texas, but a lot of places, they're trying different mash bills. They're putting different corn varietals in. They're putting, they're doing all this different stuff. So it's, it changes the profile of the whiskey. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Like, helping people find a bottle that where I'm like, yes, this is the one they are gonna love, and I love the feedback from all those people and you as well. Please leave 5-star reviews, and um, just give a review of this podcast, please, because it really does help me present a better product for you. Um, and one thing that we'll use the last couple of minutes to talk about, and I know this has kind of been kind of a rambly podcast, but um, something really cool that happened was I got a notification from my podcast platform provider that we had hit over 100 plays. Now, I know to most people, that's not a big deal. You know, so what? 100 people listen to you, right? Or it could be the same person listening to the one episode over and over again. It was me. Sorry. It was me. I did it 100 times. Listen to it again. No. So that's a really big deal, you know, for me. It's these like little bitty milestones that you hit that like, okay, we made 100, let's get to 500. You know what I mean? Let's get to 1,000. And then next thing you know, it's 10,000. You know what I mean? And we just keep going and building this, and I try and make it better and better each time. Like I've said from the very beginning. The very first episode was, in my opinion, horrible. But it has the most plays of any of the other episodes. And I've constantly talked about going back and redoing that episode and revisiting it and you know, trying to clean it up a little bit. And the issue is, I think it needs to stay there. I think it needs to stay, and it needs to be, you can see the growth in this podcast starting from the beginning. And those of you who have been following me from the beginning, thank you. Thank you so much. But you can see the gradual changes and the tweaks that I've done and, you know, stuff like that. And I'm working on doing, I think I said this last week, my computer should be out of the shop here pretty quick. The hard drive was gone. All my baby's pictures are gone. My wife is crushed. So, like, everybody's like, well, you should have saved it to the cloud. And I'm like, well, I'm cheap and I didn't want to, you know. Like, sorry, I thought it was going to be on the computer forever. No. And now there is data recovery places where you can take it for a bunch of money. They'll try to get it off, but, you know, the computer guy goes, I've never heard a computer make that noise in my life. He goes, I've been doing this for a long time, never heard that before. And I'm like, great, of course that would happen to me, right? But I'm constantly trying to change not directions, but like change and make this better for myself, better sounding for me, and also better product for you. So in the near future, we'll have video. We're going to have guests. If you want to see my ugly mug talking into a microphone, you're weird, but it's fine. We're going to do that. And like I said, we're going to have guests. We're going to have, we're going to do different topics. We might even get into one of the ones I'm thinking of is a cocktail episode. I thought that would be fun. Whiskey cocktails, of course. We're not drinking gin and tonics. Even though I have a little secret. I love a good gin and tonic. I do. Yep. I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it. I don't care. One of my favorites is Hendrick's gin. It's a good gin. And my other favorite is the Botanist, if you've ever had the Botanist. The reason I like the Botanist, and if you know, it's a Islay gin. So it's in Scotland, from Islay. So, it's not smoky or nothing. It's just from Islay. But I had a gin and ginger beer. So it was like a little bit different take on it. But my wife really loves the Fever Tree ginger beer and tonic, and it's a little spicier. So yeah, it was good. And of course we were by the pool. I made it, put a lime wedge in it, all that stuff. It was super good. It was refreshing on a hot day, because like you can only drink so much beer, right? It just makes you full, especially when you don't drink it all the time like I do. I don't drink beer that much. I mean, I do, but like not that much. And it was light beer too. It's not like I was drinking stouts or something like that. You just can't. It's too hot. They're lawnmower beers. Anyway, but yeah, that gin and tonic just it hit the spot, right? Or gin and ginger or whatever it was. But yeah, so I'm thinking about doing a cocktail episode. I think that would be kind of fun. Um, and then I kind of want to get into um, putting on a tasting, like putting on a whiskey tasting, like kind of the ins and outs, the do's, the don'ts of if you wanted to do this with your friends, your coworkers, your family, kind of how not so much how to, but like things to think of, things to not do. Those are the big ones for me. Don't do this. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're a grown person, hopefully. Um, because if you're not grown and you're drinking the whiskey, you need to not be. Uh, um, but yeah, I'm not going to tell you what not to do. You can do whatever you want, but they just guidelines that I've learned and been taught. Um, so yeah, I think those are going to be some cool topics in the future. Um, and then um, I've been trying to expand my YouTube and into doing different things than what's on the podcast. That way, it's like, hey, you can find me here, and I'm talking about something completely different. You know what I mean? And but the thing is, like, I don't I have a list of topic ideas and stuff like that. I just don't want to burn through them too fast and then be done at the end going, well, guys, we're going to revisit this one again, like Mountain Man or whatever. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be really interesting, and I hope you guys stick around to see that journey. It's going to be a great journey. We're going to have fun, um, and we're going to actually one of the new ones coming up. We're going to do a deep dive on a bottle on the podcast. So you'll be able to get all my weird, my weird thoughts as I'm partaking in the whiskey and stuff like that. And I'll try to get it to where I can sync it to a deep dive or something that I'm doing, and we'll just kind of like collab that out. That way you can see the visual. Hopefully that'll be when I'm doing video, which will be in the next couple of weeks. And then that way I can just link it up to the YouTube and whatever, and we can go from there. But yeah, I really appreciate we're getting about at that time. Yeah, yeah, we are. Okay. Uh, it always dings at me when we're getting close. I need to do a different setup, and just in case I want to go over an hour. But anyway, not that you want to hear me ramble for more than an hour, but anyway, I appreciate all y'all for listening this far. If you got this far, I appreciate it. Y'all have a great week. Make sure and follow, like, subscribe on everything. You know where I'm at. Come find me. The Whiskey Shaman on everything. The underscore. You got to use the underscore. The underscore Whiskey Shaman. Stupid idiots. Anyway, I guess that'll be it for now. I will see y'all next week. Lord willing, of course. And until then, keep your spirits up.